Live and online on a Tuesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bowling with the Fef, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel. It has been quite a week yet again. Lots of exciting stuff. We are less than 2 weeks away from the MJBT WYBT border battle. So excited to be getting set for that. Little last minute preparation for that live stream a week from Saturday. And I hope everyone will join us to see two excellent teams, the best of junior bowling in Minnesota, take on their counterparts in Wisconsin at Wagner's Lanes in Eau Claire. And very excited that that's coming to town and that I have the opportunity to live stream that competition. More details on that coming up soon as we get closer and closer. So look for that on the social platforms, and I'll make sure you know where to go to catch all the action. Well, speaking of action, they are down to the final 4 players in the PBA Players Championship, as episode 47 guest Bill O'Neill, Anthony Simonson, Jacob Buttroff, and Kevin McCune are headed to the semifinals. Now, that round is coming up on Saturday, 11:30 a.m. Wisconsin time on FS1 at Bolero North Brunswick, or Carolier Lanes if you prefer. The Roth-Holman doubles is actually going on right now in Delaware, kind of in conjunction with that whole thing. You've got Packy Hanrahan and his partner leading the whole thing right now. Actually, as of the A squad, I should say, they're finishing up the B squad as we speak. It's Packy Hanrahan and Mitch Hoope, 627 over to lead things for the moment, but they've got some competition coming their way. I know Matt Ogle just shot 300 toward the end of B squad qualifying. So we'll see what happens there. You've got a lot of action on the PBA side. So looking forward to see who takes the Roth-Holman doubles as well as the Players Championship coming up this weekend. On the PWBA side, Sherry Tan took down Jordan Richard to claim the PWBA Stockton Open, her 4th career title at the first tour stop of the season. Tan, the top seed, won 237-205 on Saturday night at Pacific Avenue Bowl. This was the 100th title awarded since the relaunch of the PWBA Tour back in 2015. The ladies' next tour stop is at the PWBA Go Bowling Spokane Open on May 11th through the 13th. Oh my gosh, look at that. Hey, I know that guy. Hopefully you do too. I should probably switch my banner to let you know that this is coming soon on the channel. That right there is 40-time PBA titleist and Hall of Famer Norm Duke. And he was recently at Dracula's 32 Bowl in Inver Grove Heights, Minnesota. We discussed this week's tour, the Duke from the 2023 PBA LBC National Championships, and what he's doing now that he is not on tour anymore. On this one, Norm's non-bowling career, and that's coming up really soon on the channel. So again, make sure you stay in tune, keep your ear to the ground on the social media, and you will find out when that is coming up. I'm in the process of editing as we speak, and really excited to bring you that interview. I'm sure you will enjoy it. So please stay tuned. Watch for that to upload on the channel and check it out. I hope you like it. Well, the channel doesn't exist in the way it does without support from Chip Magnet Salsa. Chip Magnet is a family business in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, distributing quality salsa, relish, and more to stores in more than 38 states and Canada. In the Twin Cities of Minnesota, you can get your fix at Whole Foods, Nolan's Festivals, Kowalski's, Lunds and Byerly's, and most all small co-op stores. They also have a great deal going on for Bowling with the Theft viewers. If you order and enter the promo code BWTF2023 at checkout, you'll get 20% off your purchase of $30 or more online at chipmagnetsalsa.com. Limit one order per email address. Chip Magnet, raise your snack standards. And thank you so much, as always, to Chip Magnet for supporting Bowling with the Fef. Well, our guest tonight is likely joined by her boys, and that's kind of how life is as a cat owner, as Sarah Kushino-Roberts knows very well. She's grown up in the bowling community of the Twin Cities of Minnesota and has had a lot of success along the way. She is joining us tonight from Andover, Minnesota. Let's bring her in, the cat mama, Sarah Kushino-Roberts. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on Bowling with the Fef.
Hello.
Hello. So let's kind of start right there with the cats. Cat Mama was on your Instagram bio,
Yes.
and we've talked online on the phone a few times leading up to this. You've had the cats kind of pawing at you and kind of getting in your business. Tell us about the Cat Mama thing. How long have you owned the cats? How many do you have? All that good stuff.
Well, currently I have 3. I have 2 brothers that are 3 years old, and then I have a cat that's almost a year.
Okay.
And I got the 2 brothers during COVID, and then just the other one was just happened to fall into my lap. He was just a godsend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's the black one named Kenji. Kenji's after my dad's middle name.
Okay.
Eddie is named after Iron Maiden's mascot, and Dixon is after my favorite character from The Walking Dead.
I love that. I love the variety there. You're talking to a former owner of 3 cats, so I kind of dig it. I know this lady digs it too. Jessica Miller, Jessica Boyer. Now.
Hi, Jess.
She's into cats, into sunflowers, all that, as we learned on the show a little while ago. But thanks for tuning in live, Jess. We also had another comment. This one kind of came in early. Jay says that he did his show prep work. I didn't know he had prep work to do to watch the show, but that's great. He says this lady has quite the resume. Should be another excellent interview. I appreciate that, and I'm sure you appreciate the remark about the resume.
Yeah, I'm curious as to know what he found out about me
and how. Right?
Yeah.
No, I would totally agree about the resume part. That's nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be closer to the truth. Man,
That's okay.
You try. One other thing that we were talking about before going on is some of your social posts. And when I say that, I know that not everybody's going to see them, just your Facebook friends, but you have a regular habit of posting to Facebook these memes and posts that sometimes make me think that you're living in my head, because it's like the same stuff that I'm thinking on a regular basis. Now yesterday you had one that says everyone pregnant and raising children, then there's me, and there's a picture of someone marking off the height of a cat, which maybe not, but the one before saying that stupid walk you do when someone's mopping a floor and you're going to walk over it, but you want them to see how sorry you are to be walking over it, so you make yourself looking like you're walking over hot lava.
Mm-hmm.
That is totally me. I would assume are you picking these up? Are you creating these yourself? Are you getting them from somewhere?
I just find them on Facebook, or I have a bunch of sites that I follow that have memes and just funny things, and I save them just so, because they connect with everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know of one person that hasn't walked over the freshly mopped floor, tiptoeing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody does it, and everybody can relate. So and I think it's hilarious. So I try to find something that at least makes somebody laugh.
When I do that, it's followed by an Andrew, that's wet
Hmm.
from Mrs. Pfeff, or even my son sometimes. So how it is. You recently posted to social that you are celebrating a milestone in your life, and that milestone is 10 years of sobriety. Which, first of all, congratulations. That is
Okay,
it's
thank you.
awesome. It's something that not everybody can do, and it's a real testament to you working on yourself, really, which is totally admirable. Tell me about your journey as far as that's concerned.
Well, not knowing, I realized before I got sober how sick I was. I mean, I kind of went back and forth from I'll be okay, but I need help. Back and forth. I mean, I think everybody that's going on that is in the journey of sobriety has felt that way before, and then it actually got, and I hate the fact that it made me, but I got me to quit bowling for 10 years. So and because I was very, very sick, but then when I finally um, came to, I opened my eyes and I just realized I didn't want to feel sick and tired and scared all the time. I just made that decision and decided to do it. I was in the hospital for a good week before they could find me a bed at a rehab. And then I was at rehab for a month and a half. And then I was out on outpatient rehab, returned to work, got my own apartment finally. um, and then, yeah. And then 10 years, 10 years now, here I am.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
been a good journey. I haven't regretted a day of it,
yeah.
of being sober.
And totally amazing on the surface, totally amazing when we sit back and think about the bowling culture and how there's typically alcohol around. And you've got a lot of people who love and support you, Jessica being one of them, saying way to go, that's amazing. And I would assume that's got to feel great, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I was down to an unhealthy weight when I was drinking. Not that I'm at a healthy weight now, but I just feel so much better. I just feel better. I'm stronger. I'm a little, some of my memories are, of course, are a little skewed, and I don't remember a whole lot from back then. I remember having some really fun times, but some really the bad times outweigh the good times. But nah, I can remember things now, which is a lot better than before. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, accomplishing a great goal like that is always cool to see, and very proud of you. We were friends back in the day, friends now, so I'm really happy that that you're finding success with that. And let's keep it going for another 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Whatever you need to be your best self.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about the bowling. That's kind of the whole thing we do on this show. And you've got quite a bowling story. Let's kind of start from where this all originated. Do you have bowlers in your family?
Oh yeah, my dad was huge into bowling. My mom bowled before they got together, but then quickly quit after she found out how good he was. So actually I used her when I started out at 9 or 10 years old. I can't remember. I was using her old bowling ball as my first ball. So,
Ah,
but my dad was probably the biggest influencer of how I got into bowling.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Was it a deal that you kind of saw him doing it and wanted to be that, so you kind of fell in line, or was there a different way?
I think he just wanted, not that I had anything else to do, but I think he wanted me to have something else to do, because I was in dance and piano and school, and I was 10. But I just wanted something. I think he wanted me to just try it out and see if I liked it.
Sure.
And the very first year of league, I fell in love with it, and here I am,
Yeah.
45 years old or 45 years old and still doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. When you talk about league back then, where was that?
I started out at Park Place, and I believe I bowled there for 2 years.
Okay.
And I bowled with can't remember everybody that I bowled with. I remember Kathy McCarty. I bowled Doc McCarty's daughter. Um, my friend Brenda, who lives out in Colorado now, but she was only with me for a year, and then after that, I moved over to Earl Brown after Park Place closed.
Okay. Do you remember what that transition was like? I mean, was it tough, kind of being early on in your career to then kind of pivot and go to a different center?
Yeah, because it was obviously Earl Brown's was a lot bigger place to bowl, and there was um, back then I don't think I was averaging all that well because this is my second year in bowling,
Sure.
but just to see some of the better bowlers that were there, I got but it wasn't. I was shy, but not shy, if that makes any sense. So I mean, it was fun. My dad was a coach. Um, and I knew some kids from school, so I mean, it wasn't too hard. I made friends
Yeah.
pretty easily. So
With your dad being that big influence on you, being your coach. I kind of had a similar thing with my dad, and I remember, regrettably, not listening as much as I should have, to be the best version of me on the lanes. Were you that way, or do you think you were pretty coachable back then?
um, I think I was pretty coachable. I mean, once I started, because I started out throwing the ball straight, and then once I started incorporating a hook, I was like, okay, well, and then I remember one Sunday during traveling league, and we were bowling up in Monticello before it was River City Extreme, and I
Okay.
remember the lanes were hooking, and Tom Corbett was there too because I bowled with Carly.
Okay.
Um, uh, he just said, okay, so my ball was hooking past the head pin going Brooklyn side, and he's like, okay, I need you to move your feet to the left and hit this mark. I'm like, are you crazy? And I had absolutely no idea what he was talking about, and I didn't listen to him, and I didn't listen to him, and then I bowled a bad game. And then finally I listened to him and I got a strike. I'm like, oh, well, apparently he knows what he's talking about. And Tom was like, see what we know what we're talking about. I'm like, okay. So, and ever since then, I'm like, oh, let's say you have to move. There's adjustments that need to be made. And then, slowly and surely I kind of incorporated that and got, got a little better as I got older.
Sure. You mentioned how Earl Brown was a bigger place than Park Place. Were there people, other bowlers, other juniors that you gravitated toward during those early years there?
Well, I think it was finally into my high school. I mean, I bowled with Jeremy Steffen
Mhm.
and Ben Godey and Dan Broyne, the Carly Corbett, and I believe Nicole Sylvester was there, Amy Bauman. Think, if I remember correctly, that's pushing 30 years ago. I believe Brent Prentice was even bowl league there. So, I mean, it was Matt Warner, he doesn't. There was some really pretty good bowlers that I bowled with. So I mean, it helped Mike O'Connell, Bill O'Connell. It's just a lot of good bowlers.
Yeah, and that's the first thing that struck me about that list is, oh my gosh, I remember each and every one of these names because they were great bowlers. Was that something that was intimidating for you, or was it something that pushed you to be even better than you thought you could?
Uh, you know, um, Both. I
Yeah.
mean, I still do get intimidated quite a bit, but I was in. You know, they were so good, and I wanted to be them so badly that I think I put a lot of pressure on myself.
Sure.
And on top of trying to make my dad happy, I think my dad would have been proud no matter what, but I wanted him to be proud of me and the bowler he wanted me to be. And I think, yeah, it was a lot of pressure, you know, especially when you got to competitive bowling with the MJBTs, that you just mentioned in your pre-show or whatever. It was it made me want to be a better bowler, but it was also very intimidating because you you watch all these bowlers bowling so many good games, and then there's me kind of stuck like a step behind, and it was frustrating, but I I put pressure on myself to be a better bowler.
Sure. Yeah. Jessica mentioned Dad and Uncle Bear.
Oh yeah, that's her dad, Jeff Miller,
Okay.
who I've known since I was, I guess, 4. I don't remember. And then Uncle Bear is one of my best friends, Tom Mitchell or
Gotcha.
Mitch. Yeah, so they're both really good bowlers as well. So I mean, but they didn't really become part of my bowling career until later in life in my 20s. So
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. You mentioned North Metro Traveling League,
Hmm.
and MJBT. We'll get to MJBT in a minute, but I want to kind of harken back to that traveling league because I was in there too, and a lot of the folks that you mentioned, popped up in that North Metro Traveling League. Tell us what that was all about.
Well, I don't exactly. We had 2 teams based out of like each house. Like I mean, we there was 2 teams from Earl Brown, and then I believe there was Lynbrook,
Mhm.
Spectrum, where I think you bowled out of,
Yep.
um, Monticello, and I believe some teams from Blaine.
Hmm.
I don't know if it was Classic or Blainebrook. And I believe we went to Blainebrook once or twice, but every Sunday we went to a different house and just bowled a different team each week, and um, that's how. And we met a lot of bowlers, so I mean it was fun. I don't remember how. I mean, it wasn't the whole year. I think it was a shortened season too, even though the juniors lasted pretty much as long as the regular bowling season does, which from September to April or whatever. But
Yeah.
I believe the traveling season was just like a 3 months out of the year. I don't remember. Do you remember?
I think you're right. I think it was shorter. I remember going to places like Elsie's,
Oh yeah,
Earl Brown, of course. Was Doyle's in there? Doyle's might have been in there.
Doyle's was in there.
Okay. Lowry Lanes was in
Oh
there.
boy, yes, that was there too.
Um, and among others. So you really got a taste of, differences between houses. Maple Lanes was in there.
Hmm.
Um, and making the adjustments between different houses, knowing that a house shot one place is not going to be exactly like a house shot another, the different characteristics of carry. In the case of Lowry Lanes, you had to look through a cloud of smoke to to see where you were aiming for. But yeah, I always valued that, and I would assume that that's something that you found valuable, as you made your way too.
Well, yeah, and especially, going back when we were growing up, they were transitioning from like wood lanes to the synthetic.
Oh yeah.
So even the approaches were, some of the approaches were wood, and then, I mean, and that did help. I believe it helped me learn how to play the lanes different, like where to stand initially. I mean, the shot could be different from, if you bowl Lowry lanes one day and then go back a few weeks later or wherever, um, it could be a completely different shot, but you had at least a base to know where you could possibly play. And back then, we didn't have a whole lot of money. We didn't have a whole lot of bowling balls an arsenal to choose from either. So you had maybe a spare ball and 2 other balls, and then that was pretty much it. Most of us only had the 2,
Yeah.
me. So
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
but it was a huge learning experience. I mean, it helped, I believe, a lot of people, and especially me,
Yeah. Was
learn
there
the game.
was there a point where you remember being confident enough to take that next step and start doing Minnesota Junior Bowlers Tour?
I think it was after I graduated high school and I started, well, my average was only, I think, 180. I mean, which is good.
Mhm.
But I'm like, okay, well, let me try to go do this tournament. And I believe my first MJBT was at Bogarts in Apple Valley.
Oh,
And I was like, okay, and then that, Bogarts isn't a small place. I mean, there was a lot of bowlers that I didn't know. I mean, there was a few handful of people like Brent and Pat Humphrey.
yeah,
Just, I mean, I could go on and on, so I'm not gonna. But bowling and I bowled my highest tournament game ever. It was just 266, and I was like, okay, I can actually do this.
yeah,
So I mean, even that first one, I believe, like the Coca-Cola tournaments and the Pepsi tournaments, I did well, but and I don't know if I did well enough to get a recognition, no scholarship money, but I mean, and I always had fun. That's the main point. Was I always had fun. Bowling is such a frustrating but fun game that I think I just enjoyed the competition, and I bowling against the other people, I believe I wanted to get better or as good as these people I was bowling with or
sure.
against. So,
Yeah. Yeah. MJBT definitely a different animal, center to center, pair to pair. The longer formats where if you're making cuts, you might be bowling 16 games in a day. Really, did a good job of that. And when we were in it, at the helm was Chris Gamick.
yes.
And I always like to ask people about their memories of Chris if they were in MJBT at that time, because Chris was our high school coach. He was always around at MJBT and things like that. What are your memories of Chris?
Oh, he was probably the most laid back guy. I mean, he was very funny, but he knew exactly he ran that tournament so well. I mean, he made friends. I mean, he was respected by the parents.
Mhm.
He was respected by the bowlers. I mean, that's why, all the houses that we went to throughout Minnesota and um, enjoyed having us go there because of how he ran the tournaments. I mean, he liked to have fun. He joked around and he didn't take any crap from anybody either. So, I mean, which was, I think why he was so respected. And I sure do miss the man. He ended up being a pretty good friend of mine. So, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
rest in peace.
for sure. Jessica says, can agree. Sarah is fun to bowl with and against.
Yeah, and Jessica is one of the she's one of the ones that I want to beat all the time, but I'm amazed by how good of a bowler she is, and I'm very proud of her too. So
Yeah. Yeah, she's done some great things recently too.
absolutely.
Had the pleasure of interviewing her on a past show. You can find that up the channel a little ways. Did you have an opportunity to compete for your high school while you were in it?
Park Center. I went to Park Center High School, and we did not have a bowling team.
Okay.
So unfortunately, no. And then I didn't attend a college that had a bowling team either.
Okay.
We had I actually took a bowling class at high school. So I did that for an easy grade. And Pat Humphrey can attest to that too. So
Yeah.
him and I were in the same class.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. um, how long did you end up staying in juniors? I mean, a lot of us would stay until we aged out at 21. Was that the case for you?
I stayed, yeah. Well, actually, I think I started bowling MJBTs at 17, and then I stopped at just before my 21st birthday.
Okay.
Because not to bring up a bad subject, but my dad passed away July of 1999. I remember going to an MJBT because I was going to bowl it, but being that my dad had just passed away like a week before, I didn't. And then I think my last MJBT was June of '99.
Okay.
So a month out before my 21st birthday, and then I went adult.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were pretty close actually. As far as, going into adults, I aged out at 21 and
Hmm.
kind of started right up. Tell me about that experience for you. What did you do? Who did you bowl with right off the bat?
Oh, going into an adult
Yeah.
bowling. Oh geez. Well, my very first adult league, I bowled at Texatonka with Allie Herstein and Howie Herstein and Jeff Peterson. Um, we were going to bowl it was Howie and Allie, father and daughter, and it was supposed to be my dad and myself. But of course, my dad passed away, and Jeff Peterson took his place, and that that was a very fun league. And that league consists, well, Carl Fitek was in that league, Jeff Crystal, Billy Johnson was still bowling then, so he was in the league. There was Carol Johnson or Carol Jackson, Ron Olson, some of the old school good bowlers I mean, I'm not saying Carl was old or whatever, but like Billy is. But just and Kate Larson or Peterson at the time, and she was bowling in that league. There was just so many good bowlers in that league. There's so many I can't remember, and it was also 24 years ago. It's hard for me to say that because I feel in my head I think I'm still young.
It goes by so fast.
Hmm.
What was Brent one of them that was in the league?
I don't believe he was.
Okay.
I don't believe he was in that league.
Because I know he's got some history at Tex, and I asked him, about you because you're coming on the show, and he told me that you're one of his favorite people. He remembers being neighbors with your grandmother, Kay Kushino. There has been not one time where her and I never had an amazing time, always laughing. You know, I would, I would assume you'd probably reciprocate there because it's impossible not to have a good time.
Oh, for crying out loud! I mean, he just makes you laugh. I mean, just his smile just makes you laugh, and he's such a smart aleck. But he's such a nice guy. We always had a blast together. I mean, there's outside of bowling, we became pretty good friends, and we traveled to bowling CBAs together up in Alex. There's a few funny stories there, but yeah, we just always made me. He always made me laugh, and then yeah, there's some stories I probably I shouldn't tell. Keeping this pretty much PG.
Okay. Fair enough. We'll leave it at that.
Mhm.
Looks like we got someone chiming in from those days. Dune Sir mentions Thursday night at New Hope Bowl. He says Thursday nights, but New Hope Bowl. You remember bowling there?
Oh yeah, that was a fun league. Dune and Terry were bowling. There were so many good bowlers on that league, and Bubba was bowling. Bruce Smith. I mean, I can name. I could go on all night talking about those people, and I actually ended up bowling my first 300 in that league.
Yeah.
I was a 22.
Okay.
So,
You remember what that was like to break through for that big score?
oh gosh. And I promised myself that night I wasn't going to drink because I knew I was going for a big game there. So I'm like, I'm not going to drink until get that 300.
Yeah.
But I remember, my hands were sweating so damn bad. And my pants, I mean, my first shot was smashed in the pocket. And I was getting ready to bowl my second shot. And my second shot was a little light in the pocket. So the last two pins to fall down were the 710. Of course. And I was like, oh my God. So then my third strike, it was pretty pretty well hit in the pocket. I remember my friend Sharon runs after she goes, I could tell how nervous you were. I saw your pant leg shaking.
Ah.
So yeah, and then I do not remember what my series was. I believe it was a small seven, but I was just excited to get the 300, and then yeah. So, but it was good to have people that were friends with my dad. Terry Anderson. Her dad were and my dad were really good friends. So I mean, she was right there to give me a hug. So it was nice. I mean, it was finally a monkey off my back. I have had friends my age or even younger, both bowling. I don't know how many 300s, and then finally to get one off my under my belt felt really good.
Yeah, I bet. Um, when you got into adult competition, tell me about like your tournament situation. Were you bowling tournaments? Were you on a tournament team? Was that something that was kind of yet to come, or was it something you did right out of the gate?
I started bowling CBAs right away, just because I mean, mo- I've grown up with those people my whole life. I knew who they were. They I think some of them know who I was, but they didn't know me. They just knew me as Al's daughter.
Sure.
Um, but I felt, you know, as intimidated as I was bowling, there were more women bowling in those tournaments too. Um, as intimidated as I was bowling against them, I wanted to be part of that. I mean, I didn't want to be scared anymore, because, but and then I made a few cuts. I mean, and then eventually I did get on a tournament team with Gloria Gates, Amy Tibbetts, Lori Munson, Chris Geister, Ray Polkart, um, Angie Parizo, Salaba was on the team as well. I mean, there was a Dana Dehan. There was a lot of bowlers that Michelle Perry. Um, I know I'm forgetting people, so I apologize. But yeah, we were sponsored by Lynn's at the time, so we would both states and both the cities, and we did pretty well. I had fun. I had a lot of fun. Sharon Bruns was on the team. I can't forget her. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had l- learned a lot learned a lot from those ladies, and Don King was on the team. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, bunch of great players that you mentioned there. I
Hmm.
want to kind of zero in on Ray since you brought her up. I happened to, shoot her a message before we came on. She told me that you always had a great time together. She says her memories are fuzzy. She hasn't bowled in a while, but one that sticks out, she says, is when you were bowling nationals and decided to hop a balcony to pester another teammate. She said, probably not the best idea, but you sure did have fun.
Oh
Can you
yeah.
can you elaborate a little bit on that?
So it was we were bowling down in Fort Lauderdale for nationals, and um we were we had a few cocktails, and it was me and Ray and Sharon. We were I can't remember what floor we were on. I think on the seventh, but a teammate of ours where she was rooming with down with her husband a few 5 or 6 balconies away. So our bright idea, and we were young. Um, we decided let's hop the balconies and go knock on Michelle's door or window. And yeah, that was probably not the smartest thing we should have done. But it was fun. I mean, I remember laughing a lot. And then there was a time we were bowling in Reno. Ray and we decided to go dancing at I can't the Atlantis in Reno. Yeah, and then the night was fuzzy pretty much on the way back. We were kind of bouncing off the walls,
Yeah.
literally.
But that's great that, you end up with, this group of ladies who obviously are great bowlers,
Hmm.
but that you can have these memories that you share, even off the lanes, which is really cool. Um, how about in tournament competition? Can you point to maybe a couple moments that, maybe were more memorable for you than the rest?
Um, I know there was a few cuts that I made, which I'm pretty proud of. Or I made it to the second day, I should say, because a lot of the CBAs used to be 2 days. Because there was the field was so big. And that made me happy. I was bowling the second day with Deb Lanto and those girls. I mean, that was a pretty big step for me. I never ended up winning, which is fine with me, but I made the cut, which made me happy. And being and sometimes there weren't even enough bowlers to have a women bowlers, I should say, to have a women's division, and I still made the cut for the second day. I mean, of course, I didn't win, but I still made the cut for the second day. One being at Cedarvale. Um, that was only one I can remember, to be honest with you. But it was always fun. Even bowling the CBA in Eau Claire at Wagner's.
Yeah.
I actually made the cut the second made it to the second day a few times, which was unbelievable with that many bowlers bowling in that tournament. Having two shifts at the big side of Wagner's when Wagner's had a big side.
Yeah.
Actually making it to the second day, that was a pretty big deal for me.
Yeah.
Or
And
for-
I was going to say, for people who aren't familiar with Central Bowlers Alliance or CBA, I mean, this is basically a step below the regional tour. I mean, these guys can really, really play.
yes, I mean, they still I'm still in awe of them when I go watch. I don't bowl a whole lot of CBAs anymore, but I still go watch because I just absolutely love the sport. But just watching some of these guys bowl, I'm like they're absolutely ridiculous how good they are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fantastic tournament. If there are any scratch bowlers out there, either from the Midwest or not, just, either you live here or you happen to be in town for something. I mean, check it out. It's an incredible competition. You had mentioned, kind of taking a break, having a bunch of years where you didn't bowl. Tell me about coming back into it. I had, kind of a shorter leave of absence, you could say, from the game. I took about 3 seasons off, and it was really tough for me to get my footing, that first season back. What was it like for you?
Um, well, I'll tell a funny story first. I actually went bowling for fun with a group of people at what used to be Skylanes.
Oh, yeah. Down by the airport.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's Park, any Town and Country Bowl, I think it is. But I just went bowling for fun, house shoes, house bowling ball. I'm like, okay, I got this. Should be easy. My very first game was a 15, and I
How'd
can't
that
blame.
feel?
I was so embarrassed because the reason why we went bowling is because they. This is before I met my husband, or I was with my husband. It was a double date, and it was a kind of a blind date. So I was. They picked the bowling thing just because Sarah's a good bowler and blah 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 blah. And I started out with a 15. It was very embarrassing, but then I came back with a 120 and then 140 something. And I can't blame drinking because I was sober then. So
Mhm.
I mean, it was just not my game, not my day. But when after I got together with my husband and I started dating. I had always missed the sport. I'd always go and watch my friends bowl, and I missed being around the people so much. That's why I went and watched. And finally, I bit the bullet, and my husband bowled, or still does, but I went to go watch, and really, really, really started to miss it. But the whole thing where I didn't have shoes, and I didn't have bowling balls. I didn't even have a bowling bag anymore. I mean, because I didn't think I was ever going to get back,
Mhm.
which would have been stupid, and my dad would have been so mad. But I finally okay, I put a feeler out on Facebook. I'm like, does anybody have any 15-pound bowling balls to spare? And actually, I got Pat Humphrey's old bowling balls, and I
Oh,
just yeah, and I had Tom bought me for Christmas before I started bowling leagues, a wrist brace and a bowling bag. So I mean, there was that, so that helped me out. And we just, um, I started. We bowled like have a ball league. So I got another bowling ball. So we just went out and had fun with that, and we practiced a little bit, and then I said, okay, so I'll get back and maybe I'll go sub on Monday nights at Texataka, which they have a pretty good scratch league there. And then I bowled with him on Wednesdays at Elsie's with my husband. And yeah, I was just gonna ease my way back in. And then that first year I was bowling 3 leagues.
Wow.
Yeah, that, that wasn't much of a ease into it, but I sure had fun. And I lost a lot of I had to relearn some technique and break some old or new old bad habits that I found myself doing that I didn't realize I was doing. I thought I was doing things the same as I was 10 years ago, but apparently not. But I would get very frustrated with myself because I thought I knew I should. How do I want to say this? I knew I wasn't going to be the bowler I was when I quit or when I gave it up, but I wanted to be at there. And there was so many things to work on. I didn't the equipment, the bowling shoes, I mean, just everything. Just learning how to read the lanes and
Yeah.
adjust to the lanes. And I still have a hard time with that. So don't get me wrong, I'm still learning. But
As we all are.
yes, I mean, every day is a learning experience with the bowling. But it was easy to get back into it because I still knew a lot of people and they were very supportive. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think, the friends that I had made it a lot easier to get back into it. And I didn't get a lot of crap for taking all the time off because I think everybody understood my story.
Mhm.
And yeah, so thanks to everybody for making it such an easy transition back.
Yeah. Hey, no surprise here because, it's like any bowling community. It's really tight. And I had a similar experience here in town, coming back after a few years off. You just, you find a way to pick up where you left off.
Hmm.
Yeah. You mentioned your husband Tom. You guys
Hmm.
are bowlers. Did you meet him through bowling?
Yeah, actually, this is a funny story. He's so cute, but he was bowling on a team with my ex-boyfriend. So when I met my husband, I was with a different guy.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I mean, there was that, and then we kind of lost touch, and I had broken up with the boyfriend or my ex-boyfriend. I got sober, and then I had just seen a post. Somebody tagged him on a post in Facebook, and I saw his name, and he happened to be sitting at this bar that we both were at the last time I saw him in Reno. So he posted a picture of the bar, and I was like, okay, and we became friends, and then 2 weeks later, or a week later, I think I met him down at Elsie's. Just I went down there for a friend's birthday, and I wanted to see him because I always had a little crush on him. But and then a week after that, we went on our first date. It was 7 years ago, April 13th,
Oh wow.
and then now the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you've said a few times, he's a bowler too,
Mhm.
a very very good bowler in his own right.
Mhm.
And you guys bowl doubles in tournaments. You bowl on the same league teams. What's that like for you and for him?
Well, he's he's pretty competitive. I mean, he always tells me he wants to beat everybody in the bowling alley all the time, including me. Um, and he's a really good bowler. I mean, he makes it easy to be his doubles partner because I mean, we cheer each other on, of course. And I always want him to. I want to see him succeed. I want him to bowl well. And if he gets frustrated, I try to help by lifting his spirits or try to say encouraging things. But he's usually pretty frustrated at that point in time. So, but I mean, bowling with him is fun. We bowl 2 leagues together, and I bowl the just 1 league without him. But he makes it easy.
Yeah.
Um, he yeah, he tries to tell me or suggest things that I should do or to switch bowling balls if things aren't going well for me. And it takes because I'm stubborn just like him. But it takes a few shots, and I'll finally listen to him, and then I'm like, oh, he was right, And I hate. I mean, I I give him a lot of crap. I'm like, yeah, you were right again,
Hmm.
but yeah, and he's like, yeah, I told you so.
Yeah.
We like to give each other a lot of crap.
Doesn't mean you have to be happy about realizing
Exactly.
that. Jessica says Tom cheats at cards, always getting jokers.
Yeah, you know what? We play cards on Wednesday nights, and there was a. He always seems to get the jokers. I mean, he always wins the hands. He went on a pretty good dry spell there towards the end, where actually he let his other teammates win, and he wasn't very happy about it. But he always seemed to win at card games.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't think he cheated, but I he may have. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll never know. Good to see Derek Michaud, host of Flush in the Pocket podcast here, watching us live. Derek, thanks for tuning in. I know he's got a big show coming up with Ernie Schlegel.
Ooh.
So looking forward to seeing that from him. He wants to know, which ball brands do you support? This is a loaded question because he's a Brunswick guy, but what ball brands do you support?
I'm not. I'm not just. I don't support just one. I've been typically buying Storm products.
Mhm.
My last ball was a hyped pearl, and I can't remember. I can't remember who makes that.
I think it's Roto Grip. So
Yes, thank you.
yeah.
They were right next door to each other at National. So, but I'm not dedicated to just one bowling ball. If I read up on it, and if I like I see how and I typically try to watch women bowl because I can't crank the ball like the guys, whatever. But if I see how they're throwing the ball, somebody that kind of typically throws the ball similar to me, I'll I'll typically try to get something similar to that.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Speaking of supporting brands, I'm hoping everybody watching will support this brand and subscribe to the channel. I gotta have the little goals here, and the road now is to 2,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you can hit that little logo in the bottom right. Help me get to 2,000. I'd appreciate it. You also sent over a picture of you and Verity Crawley. I
yes.
remember a few years ago at the Twin Cities Open, we were actually sitting next to each other in the stands watching Verity nearly run the ladder at that tournament. Tell me about the circumstances here where you got this picture with her.
Well, of course, that was at the 2021 or 2022 Open, and I had been, following her on Facebook, and just she's got such a smooth delivery, and I was such a fangirl. I mean, it's amazing, but I was so nervous. She just happened to be putting her stuff away, and I'm like, can I just be a fangirl and get a picture with you? And and she's the only one that responds to if she asks a question on one of her media platforms like Instagram or Facebook, she'll actually answer you if you have a question for her, and she just seemed very down to earth, and yeah, it was just good to. There was other people I wanted to get pictures with, but I was a nerd and too nervous to ask them. And I didn't want to be the bother. I didn't want to bother anybody, so I'm just like, and she just happened to be there. I'm like, okay, well, can I get a picture with you? She's like, oh, of course. And yeah, of course, I'm not going to do the British accent, but yeah. So, but yeah,
Well,
she's just very, she's inspirational, and she doesn't get too down on when she is not having a good day. I mean, she's like, "Oh, there's tomorrow." I mean, I mean, pretty much they're all like that, and but she doesn't let it get to her. I don't as much as some may.
yeah,
Yeah, so she's
yeah.
pretty.
You picked a great one. I've been fortunate enough to to have her on the show a couple times, so
Mhm.
you can certainly check back on through the catalog and find her. Um, let's see. So Derek says it's because of guys like Theft that made me want to start my own. All right. I appreciate that. He runs a great show, Flush in the Pocket podcast. Check it out. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Jessica says she's amazing. Love Verity. I
Yes.
obviously agree. And George says that's Sarah K.
Yeah, I haven't seen George much. I haven't seen George much lately. He used to bowl in that Thursday league at Flaherty's in the summertime. I mean, I'll see him around, but he used to bowl in that league, and I think he was that league moved from Maple Lanes to Flaherty's once Maple closed. So yeah, I haven't seen him in a while.
Okay. Let's get into this past season. When I asked Katie Halfland about you, she said that you are cool people, a fabulous bowler, and that you've been balling the past year pretty hard. She says, I swear she's posting an honor score every other week. What is it about this past season that's that things have been clicking for you?
I have, I think, I mean, I'm only, I mean, still a student of the sport, and I'm always learning. I think it's um, like paying attention how closer to how my ball is reacting. I did get during COVID, I got one little hour lesson from Matt McNeil. And it just, I think just even that helped me. And just, I mean, I may get frustrated and forget what he taught me or whatever. But I think just learning how to read the lanes a little bit better. I'm starting to get new equipment, which is helping me. I mean, it's when I first got back into bowling, everybody said, it's about the equipment. It's about the equipment. It's about the bowling balls." And I'm like, and that's what kind of scared me from because I didn't have the money to, it can get kind of expensive or whatever. But
Really expensive.
yeah. But if you get just like one like a spare ball and then a bowling ball for when the lane is really like dry or mid dry or oily, then you can just work from there. But I think by being around all these good bowlers, I think has taught me how to, you know, even if it's if the bowling ball just comes in a little heavy, you still got to move. I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes it takes me a while to figure that out still. I think because I always think it's me that's making the mistake. Um, so, but I don't know. I think it's just my timing's gotten better, and I can't put put my finger on why it's gotten so much different this last year. I mean, um, I don't know. My timing's gotten better. I think it's new equipment. I think my confidence has gotten a little better. And I'm still intimidated by the people I bowl against, but in my head, I think I'm learning or accepting the fact that I can be as good as these people. I may not have all the honor scores some of these people have, or as many. I mean, but you know what? I in my head I think I'm like I can still do it.
Yeah.
I'm still young enough.
Hmm. And you're not there by accident, you know?
Yeah.
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 I'm going into this one blind, but Brent wanted me to ask you how many teeth in a mammal? Care to
See,
let us in on what he
oh,
means?
okay, so I wasn't going to tell this story, but now that he brought it up, I think I can. I mean, it's this one year, and God, we were done bowling at CBA. It was up in Alex, and we had stopped. We went to this bar with D. Michael B's. It was me and Brent. Mark's
Alexandria, Minnesota, for people not
Yes,
familiar.
sorry, Alexander, Minnesota. Me, Brent, Steve Bone. There was I think Tom Corbett was there, Mark Steiner, just a bunch of us. And throughout the night, the DJ would ask trivia questions for prizes.
Mhm.
So one of the questions was, well, Brent and I heard after in the fog of some alcoholic beverages, how many teeth are there in a mammal? And him and I sat there at our table and thought about it. And I'm like, and thought about it, and I'm like, well, what mammal are they talking about? There's so many different mammals. I'm like, what mammal are they talking about? And we were just like, well, we were just so flustered we couldn't think of the answer. I'm like, well, and still in my head right now, I can't even think of how many teeth an adult human should have. So then finally, after a while, we found out the question was really how many keys are there on a piano?
Oh my gosh.
And after we found that out, I think we laughed for a good hour after that. And so that's been a long running joke for 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years. Oh, yeah, that was a fun trip.
Yeah, those trips to Alexandria usually are. There's enough time to make them that way.
Uh,
Jessica says, "You are just a great bowler, hands down, no questions asked."
oh, well, thank you. Uh, I try. I just want. I just absolutely. I love the sport so much that I just want to be as good as I can be.
Yeah. So you just started a summer league. Let's talk about that a little. Where's it at? What's the format? And what do you hope to accomplish this summer?
Well, it's a 3-man league at Flaherty's. We bowl 6 games each night, one game against one team, and then we switch lanes, and then we bowl another team for another set, 3-game set. So, or another 3 games. So, it's all 34 lanes are being used at Flaherty's, and that's a record
Hmm,
for that league. I mean, that league has moved from Earl Brown to Maple Lanes, and now it's at Flaherty. So I mean, it's absolutely huge, and it's a fun league. It's a very fun league, and I love that league because I don't get to bowl with some of the bowlers that bowl through St. Paul. I don't get to see a lot of those bowlers throughout the year. So I mean, it runs from we just started last Thursday, and it runs to the end of July. So it's a very condensed season. So, but my goal this year is actually or in this, to make it to the six, or have at least 2 600s in one night.
Okay.
Because it always seems that I screw one set up.
Yeah.
Um, it's usually my second set is better, which is weird because by the 6th game though, I'm getting pretty tired.
Sure.
But it's a fun league. Jess Miller and her husband, or Jess Boyer. I'm sorry. Her and her husband bowl in that league. Her dad bowls in that league. Corby, Tom Corbett, Dave Langer. There's some really good bowlers in that league
Yeah.
as well. So I mean, and it's a fun league.
Sure. And kudos to you for, going into that long format in the summer. That's impressive.
Well, what else would I be doing? I mean, I'd sit at home and watch television. I mean, sit at home and watch baseball. I mean, I'd rather. I know a lot of the bowlers like to, they're also golfers or whatever. So a lot of my bowling friends take the summer off and they golf.
Yeah.
But I don't golf, and I want to have something to do.
Sure.
And what else? Why not do what I love and bowl?
Yeah. Going to be doing any tournaments this summer? I mean, there is a PWBA regional coming up at Cedarvale.
No, no. My confidence may be getting better, but I'm not that confident. um, I know some of the girls that I know are probably going to be bowling that tournament, but I'm just not quite there in my confidence or my skill level yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I could, but I'd probably walk out of there pretty disappointed. And it'd probably be a really huge learning experience for me, but I just don't want to be embarrassed.
Sure.
And that's the negativity, the negative thoughts that run through my head at times. So just not yet.
Okay.
I'll start if I'm going to bowl something like that. I'll start maybe bowling just more CBAs.
There you go. Yeah.
But
But
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I like how you said not yet rather than just no.
Yeah, I want to. The want is there. It's just the confidence isn't yet. So
Yeah. Well, there's always time to work on it,
yeah.
As I told you beforehand, we do this thing on the show called Off the Sheet. And that's where I ask you to challenge somebody else. We kind of throw skill level out the window. Somebody who is passionate about bowling and has a unique story to tell to be on a future episode. So, Sarah Kushino-Roberts, who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling with the Fev?
Can it be just one person, or can it be two, or just one?
If you're going off the sheet, I mean, you could really have up to 3 if you really wanted.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, I will challenge my husband, Tom Roberts,
Okay.
and I'm going to challenge Dave Ullman,
All right.
and I want to challenge Chad Nelson.
All right. Well, that's a great way to go off the sheet there. 3 fantastic players, Dave, Chad, Tom. You can ask Sarah how to reach me. She knows. You can find me on Facebook or email me bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com. I would love to have each of you on the show. Tell your bowling story. Make Sarah happy. I've had people say no first, and then down the line they end up coming on. I've never returned anybody in worse condition than I received them. So it's a good time here. We don't take things too seriously. Our next live stream is coming up a week from tomorrow, May 17th. You may remember Mark London from episode 65, or here on the Peacock Classic live stream, where he provided excellent analysis. But he recently added a big honkin' national award to his bowling story. And I want to get into that part of it. So we're bringing him back again, Wednesday, May 17th, 7 p.m. Central. Make sure and join us for that when we have Mark on. Sarah, it has been a pleasure getting to know you and your bowling story. Dune says great job, and Jessica says good picks. So there we go. Let's get those guys on. But thanks so much for being on and sharing your story. Love to hear it.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for having me on. I had a good time.
Good deal. And thanks to all of you who tuned in live and on replay. Really appreciate it. From here on out, be just and fear not. We'll see you again next week.